All right, everybody. So I just wanted to walk you through your project for this one here. So we're gonna start with what's required. So I want you to make two 4-bar sections, and we're gonna call the first one section A and the second one section B. And we're going to start off the same way that we did with the other section. So we're going to pick a key. You can pick any key you like. For this example, I'm going to pick F. So I write out the scale F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. And then from that, for my A section, I'm just going to pick 4 notes. So I'm going to pick, for my A, I'm going to pick G, C, got ahead of myself there. G, C, D, and then A. So these are going to be my 4 notes that I'm going to make whole notes. And then I'm going to pick 2 notes. Let's go with B flat and D. So these are going to be my 8th notes. And now I'm going to make a section B. So section B, I'm going to pick B flat, C, and D. So yes, you can repeat notes in your sections. So this could have been G, G, D, A, or G, C, C, A, or G, C, D, D. You can repeat notes. That's totally fine. Now I'm going to pick 2 notes for this section. So I'm going to pick G and C. So these are going to be my 8th notes. So this is gonna repeat, and then I'm gonna go through that process. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a whole note, whole note, whole note, whole note into Audio Tool, and I'm gonna listen to what that sounds like. And if there's a note in here that I don't like, I'm just gonna throw it out, and I'm gonna pick one of the other notes in the scale. So let's say I didn't like this C. I could move it to B flat. I could make another D. I could move it to A. I could move it to F. Any four notes in a row. But the only requirement is that I have to like the sound. It has to be something that I like. If you like it, keep going. If not, just switch it out. No problem. So once you have that, your 4 whole notes, you're gonna take the 2 notes that you picked, and you're going to make 8th notes, and you're going to repeat it over all 4 whole notes. So they're going to be steady 8th notes, da, 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 and it's going to go over the whole thing. And then you're going to say, okay, this B and D, do I like it over G? Yes or no? Do I like it over the C? Yes or no? So if it's a yes, leave it. If it's a no, if you don't like the sound, so let's say I didn't like the sound of this B flat over the C. I could move it down to an A, or I could move it up to a C. And then I go through that process. Do I like this sound? Yes or no? We're going to go through that. So I'm going to make my A bar. It's going to be 4 bars, 4 whole notes in the bass. And these whole notes, to make it sound like bass, these are going to be below C4, so below the middle key on the piano. And these 8th notes here, they're going to be above C4, so that they stand out as the melody. Then I'm going to go through my B section, and I'm going to program that. So for here, these 4 notes are going to be my whole notes in the bass. And then G and C are going to alternate. And I could go from G up to a C or from G down to a C. That's up to me. And I'm going to repeat these 8th notes over these whole thing. Now, I'm going to listen back to it, and if I like the G but not the C, then I go back and say, okay, I can move the C down to a B flat or up to a D. And I'm just going to evaluate, first, do I like this progression, B flat, C, D? If I don't like it, whichever note I don't think works, I'm going to change it out for another note. And I can go from B flat, up to C or down to C. From C, I can go up to D or down to D. That doesn't matter. So now I have this G and C going back and forth over these 4 pitches, and I go through that same process. So once you have those 2 sections, you have your A section and your B section, you have to decide how you're going to introduce these sections. So one thing that you could do is you could have your A section play twice and then your B section play twice. Or you could go A, B, A. You could go A, B, B, A, and so on. Any arrangement, but you want your first section to happen in its completion, like the 4 bars, and then your second section is going to interrupt that with something different at some point. Okay, so this is the first step for your project. This is step 1. You need to come up with these two sections. So later on, once you've done that and you've made your arrangement, then we're going to talk about adding drums. We're going to expand ideas and variations on the melody. And we're going to expand ideas on the bass. And then we're going to talk about arranging. So after you've done this, you can add some kind of a drum beat. You can borrow the drum beat from something standard that you can find on the internet, or you can use your own ears and come up with your own drum beat for your song. And then I'm going to make a separate video and a separate lesson, and I'm going to show you some approaches to this melody to make it more interesting. We're not going to leave it as this standard alternating melody, although if you like it and that's your choice, then you can leave it as is and move on to the other steps. So then we're going to talk about how we can create more interest with the bass. We're not going to leave the bass as just these 4 whole notes. I'm going to do a lesson on some things that you can try to manipulate that bass into something you're a little happier with. And then we're going to talk about arranging. So how can we take these parts and turn it into something interesting by introducing different elements of the music at different time, which happens a lot in electronic music. So get started on this project. So pick any major scale you like. You're going to make a 4-bar section and then a second 4-bar section, and we're going to put it together into some kind of an arrangement. And then after that, we're going to talk about these 4 things in a separate video. So that's enough for today to get started. And if you have any questions, you can always send me an email. If you're interested, I can also do some team sites. If you're interested, I can drop into team sites and we can have a little group chat or a face-to-face video chat on MS Teams at a certain time. If you name the time, I can, if it works for me, I can be there and have like a drop-in session. So if you're interested in just a drop-in session to ask some questions about your project or about the major scales or something, we can conference that way. So hopefully that'll get you started on this little project, and we'll hear from you soon.